We are.
I have the pleasure to open the meeting of the Richland County Natural Resources Standing Committee on August 3rd, 2026 at 9:30 a.m. Roll call, please.
Harrow,
Here.
Schoonover.
Here.
McKee,
Here.
Meyer,
Here.
Nolan,
Here.
Perry,
Here.
also Tagliafico, here. Jeff Markser.
Thank you. It's a verification, meeting law compliance.
The meeting has been properly registered.
On approval of agenda, we have a 15-part agenda. I am going to make a slight change on the item 11 and 12. We're going to switch that around. 12 is going to go to 11 and 11 is going to go to 12.
Motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Mr. McKee, seconds that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion is passed. Number 5, the approval of minutes from the last meeting. Want to look that over a few minutes. See if there's any mistakes or changes that needs to be made. If nothing is found, I will accept this written. Item number 6 is public comments. We have a few here this morning. We're allowing, of course, all our meetings 3 minutes for you to say your opinions and what you need. And I'm taking them first as come. And the first one we're going to listen to this morning is Shirley Welty.
Thank you. My name's Shirley Welty, and I'm speaking today as a resident of Dayton Township in Richland County, and not my role as a county board supervisor. My husband and I raise sheep on our farm that could be impacted by the 765 kilovolt transmission line. My in-laws purchased the property in 1959, and 4 generations of our family love our slice of heaven. In the 70s, my in-laws signed an easement with Dairyland Power that resulted in 5 poles located on our farm. In 2000, my husband and I purchased a portion of the family
I
farm.
took a look at his email and it seems like it's fine.
Thousands of trees there. We
So I don't
established
know.
a building site surrounded by trees for our future retirement. We're long-range planners and chose to live here. My husband built our home and we finished it ourselves. We moved here full-time in 2023 and immediately became active in the community with Dayton Township, the county, and also the city auditorium. The easement with Dairyland Power, signed in the 70s, threatens our home and the dreams we share with our children and grandchildren. If the 765 kV line is constructed in the Dairyland Power easement, it will require removal of many of the trees we planted and will be too close to our home for us to safely live there. The expanded easement for the mega transmission line will come up to our front door and will extend over our well and encroach upon our septic and garden. It will threaten the safety of the pastures our sheep graze and the bountiful wildlife we observe every day. The beauty of the land as I now live it will end. The easement signed more than 50 years ago provided $25 per pole and $75 per support wire. My in-laws received about $250 for the few poles put in place, which now threatens our home, livestock, and our community. The investors and people leading these companies don't care about the health and safety of our residents or the beauty of where we live. The transmission line will affect our county forever. I asked the Natural Resources Committee and ultimately the county board to pass a resolution in opposition to the 765 kV transmission line. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Sarah Hunt.
Would you like me to just speak about the one topic first and let everyone else go and then speak about the other one, or just do 2?
Why don't you speak about the first one and then we'll allow you to come back after the rest of the.
Okay. So I should do the data centers
Sure.
first, since that's first. Okay. Hi, my name is Sarah Hunt and live in Dayton Township. I would like this committee to put together a moratorium on data centers across the US right now. As of April 2026, there's an estimated 4,423 data centers already existing. That is 8 times more data centers than any other country in the world, including the second highest number, which is the United Kingdom, which has about 600 data centers. Virginia alone has more data centers than any other country in the world, and most of these were put in place through non-disclosure agreements. I also want to remind everyone, if you listen to the county board meeting, I brought up the fact that now they are clearing out mobile home communities to place data centers. I'm not saying that that's going to happen here, but I think it's important that we protect ourselves from that possibility. The data centers use industrial diesel generators, which significantly lower air quality. There are about 660 data centers in Virginia, and there are about 8,910 industrial diesel generators just in that area alone. And they are tier 2 lower quality diesel generators, which means they are highly polluting. And that's just very bad for the air quality. Rock County, which is where Beloit is, which is where a data center has been proposed, which is also connected to where this 765 kilovolt line is supposed to go. It has, as of 2024, they had the poorest air quality in the whole entire nation. I checked our air quality here in Richland County and it wasn't that great either. So you can imagine what would happen if we had a data center here that had diesel generators running. It's not very healthy for us or the wildlife around us or our animals. And also these are highly polluting to the water. There have been areas where creek beds and wells have run dry because of the water usage of these data centers. And I'm really worried about what would happen here if wells start to run dry. Where would we get our water from? And how polluting is that water going to be? There's a lot of toxins that come from these data centers and pollute the water. There was a Rolling Stone article recently that talked about some of these harmful effects out in Washington State. They've had data centers much longer. They've had them for about, I think, 10 years or more. And in that area, they were seeing instances of miscarriages and cancer levels on the rise. And I think that's also a very dangerous aspect of this and very harmful to our water as well. So all of this is really just creating an environment that is the very opposite of why people choose to live here. And again, I would just like this committee to create a moratorium for these data centers because I think it's really urgent and relevant now. Thank you.
Just a time. The next one is, sorry, Valerie, is it Magion? Magion?
Hi, I'm Valerie Mansion. I live in Aiken Township. And I won't be as thorough or eloquent as these two people, but I'm just adding my voice in opposition. Can I talk about the lines and the data center?
Whatever you want to talk about.
They're linked in my mind. I believe, well, we're not directly impacted other than our viewscape. If they follow existing lines, they'll be right across Highway 171 from our picture window. And the towers will extend above the tree line. And that's what we'll be looking at. But what I worry about, I've never heard anyone talking about how the lines, what if there's a tornado? What if there are 100-mile-per-hour straight line winds? Will they start fires? And in order to prevent starting fires, will that easement wipe out every tree for miles around? Also, I participate in the bat count every year for the DNR. And I've read that bats get sucked into the lines. I don't know, when they're arcing and glowing in the hot, humid weather in the summer, that attracts the insects, and then the bats go after the insects and they get electrocuted. So I think we're all on the same page, and I think we just need to oppose as strongly as we can data centers and the 765 lines. They don't belong in the trip list. There are options. There are underground lines. They could follow the railroad through Wisconsin. You know, just go along the railroad bed and leave our land alone. leave our wildlife alone. Just leave us alone. You know, we're not gonna benefit from it in any way. So I just want to encourage you that we all want to do everything we can to support you while you support us as we band together to protect Richland County. You know, we're not gonna benefit in any way. It's just all harm. And oh, one other thing. It's really hard to hear people speaking, and I wonder if it's possible for the board to get one of those voice amplifiers that could be passed around when people are commenting. You know, especially in the full board meeting, you can't hear anything anyone says. So that's all.
Thank you.
Okay.
Next, we have Janet Johnson.
Hello, I'm Janet Johnson. I live in the town of Eagle, but my property, my farm is in the town of Dayton. First of all, I want to thank everybody on the county board for listening to us. I also would like to thank all of you committee members for listening and letting us speak. I appreciate your time and consideration. I would also ask that you follow your point person, which is Steve Carroll. He has been following this for a long time. I don't want to flood you with all kinds of information. You're getting it from all sides, I'm sure. He's in tune. He knows what's going on. Pay attention, listen to him, be open. Understand that the decisions that you make are going to affect generations from now. My children, my grandchildren, my great-grandchildren, and everybody else's. I moved here in 1988, so my children could live in this beautiful area from a more populated area. And now I'm looking at the same thing I left. We need to understand what we have here and preserve it. I ask that you go in opposition of this, and I ask that you oppose this line when the time is appropriate. If right now a resolution to support the landowners for more information is the appropriate thing, do that again in a time frame. Understand we are on the clock and it is ticking fast. So we have to move, and let's oppose this thing in the end and let's get it gone. And same thing for the data centers. They are connected. They are connected. That's really all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Sarah Hunt had emailed me and wondered if she could have 2 3-minute sections. And since there's so few of you here today, I think we'll allow that. And if you want another 3 minutes, Sarah, go ahead.
Sure. Thank you, Randy. I appreciate it. Thank you, everyone. So what I wanted to add in addition is that my mom's side of the family has lived here in Richland County since the mid 1800s. So I feel very invested in our community. I moved back here during the middle of COVID, actually from the Washington DC area, where Northern Virginia and all these data centers and massive power lines already exist. I moved away to get away from the hustle and bustle of a big city, and I wanted to be back where there were beautiful open spaces, and I just felt like I could breathe again. When I left Northern Virginia, that area didn't have what it has now. It's gone fast. It rocketed from just a few data centers and power lines to this massive explosion of gas plants and data centers and everything. It's a big mess and no one's happy about it. But I wanted to be able to grow things. I wanted to be able to enjoy the natural beauty that we already have here. And I grow flowers and we grow and make our own hay for our animals. And we get all sorts of bees and butterflies. And at night I can see fireflies, which a lot of people lately have been saying they don't see the fireflies anymore. Well, we have them. And I happen to love that. And they are super important to our agricultural community. The USDA estimates that we save $1 billion in crop damage and pesticide costs from the bats eating these pests. So they're really valuable to our ecosystem. And in USDA's they play an irreplaceable role in our ecosystems. So what she mentioned about the bats, these lines are very harmful to them. Other harms from this landline also is damage potentially to our karst when they put these massive power mains like stations in. We haven't had any confirmation of how they're gonna go about doing that. And in Dayton Township, we already have multiple areas where we have had sinkholes. So that is a big warning there, that this could damage that. And then what is that gonna do to our drinking water? The lines also cause harm to nesting areas. The birds and animals, they don't like this. They don't like the corona discharge. We can't see it, but they can. And it creates a lot of noise when there is a lot of moisture in the air, which we have quite a bit here. I wake up and I see these gorgeous, amazing, beautiful, foggy mornings, and I can hear the crickets and the birds. But now we're gonna have these lines and they're gonna make this incredibly loud buzzing noise. So that beautiful morning that I just love, that's gonna be gone. And there are just so many beautiful things that we have here. And again, I think this is creating an environment that's the very opposite of what we would all like to see and why we all live here and why people visit. And I'd like the committee to oppose this line at the right time. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for your public comments. Is there anybody online with a public comment?
Just see if I can chat, if you want to ask.
Sure.
A little louder.
Is there anybody online that has a public comment? If not, we're gonna close this part and we're gonna go to item 7, zoning petitions. 7A petition to split and rezone parcel 012-1823-1000.
This one was postponed last month. It was on the agenda, but they had not gone to the township yet. So they have township approval now. There is a survey for this. They are splitting off about 2.5 acres. So that 2.5 acres will be rezoned to residential and the remaining is under 35. So the remaining is going to ag residential.
This is in forest.
Do we have a motion?
Make that motion.
Mr. McGee and then second by Mr. Perry. Go ahead. Discussion.
Maybe nitpicky a little, but the document says 40 acres, but those two parcels don't add up to 40 acres. I just wondered what that was about. It may be you just have to change the title from 40 to whatever the actual total is.
I think they typed it out, right?
Yeah, they do.
The owner typed it out and we didn't catch it.
So I can update that in the official
Okay.
record. So so from, I can calculate what the correct acreage is and then the present use updated down.
Sounds good.
Any other questions or comments? All those in favor of passing petition A, say aye. Aye. Nays? It passed. 7B, petition to rezone parcel 006-0113-3000 and for a CUP.
So this one is coming back as well. This was previously to rezone to residential and commercial. They went back to the township. The township had been the one to suggest doing a conditional use for the business. Because of the potential temporary nature, they have a contract, I believe a 5-year contract with someone that's now running the business, and it may or may not remain there after that. So the township approved just the new parcel being rezoned to residential with a CUP. The 2 small parcels that their house is on is legal, non-conforming. The requirement when those were created was 1 acre. There was 1 acre there. So they're asking to not touch those, just do this. I did also have an email in here from the assessor. That was another question, is would rezoning to commercial affect their taxes. The assessor confirmed that as long as the use of the property does not change, they will not change how they are taxing. So the rezoning would not change their taxes at this time. And I believe, they are online. If you had any questions for them. Landowners, that is.
Motion for discussion. By Mr. McKee and Mr. Carroll, second. Right ahead, Mr. Carroll.
Of course.
Go for it.
Now, if I understand correctly, then we're just doing the rezone now, the CUP would come later.
Oh, that's part of it.
I didn't see the CUP form.
It's on this form. I just updated it to add the CUP to the application form. Should,
All right, help me out. Where's this at?
so she's got it right up here too. So it was a new packet was scanned in for this meeting, updated from last month's.
So you look under where it says ag forest to residential, and then the next thing it says CUP permit.
So in terms of fees,
They did come in and pay the additional 500 for the CUP application.
okay,
Yes.
right.
Any other discussion from the panel? All those in favor of passing petition 7B, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passed. 7C, petition for a CUP on parcel 020-4100-2600 and 020-4100-2700.
Could I back up just a moment? Do we want a time frame on the CUP for that, for the,
I mean, the 5-year question,
right?
have we ever done that?
We have, yes.
Oh.
The campground in Westford, we put a time frame on. There may have been like a mobile home that we had a time frame on as well. It's totally up to you guys. I just.
Did the township go with the 5-year plan?
The township didn't give us any timeline. They said,
Okay,
because we've run out of there for 30 years.
Yeah, so they just approved the
Okay.
rezone and approved the CUP.
I would say no on.
Okay. Perfect. So approved. Forward. Thank you. Okay, so the CUP petition then that he said, this is just a conditional use in Orion Township to put a second accessory structure. So they're looking to, there's a house and a shed there already, and they're looking to put a gazebo in the yard, right?
Yep, so they're gonna be taking down the existing storage shed and putting up a new one by the house and a gazebo. So 2 accessory structures.
So the map, it's kind of hard to see, but there's a dark square where the new shed will go and then a circle where the gazebo will go. It is 2 tax parcels, but we look at them as this is your land and it's zoned residential.
You wanna put it on the, you guys wanna put it on the floor?
Sure.
No,
Okay.
no, you gotta,
Make a motion.
Okay.
to-
We need a motion for- Remove the meeting. Okay, second, Mr. Perry. Perry.
So background,
Sir, do you want to introduce yourself?
I'm saying Sergeant Killam, I'm not that guy anymore. Everybody just calls me Canada. My official last name is Killam. I am the outright owner of the house on the left. The one in the middle is that what appears to be a white A-frame, it's actually yellow. That's my in-laws who died in Madison, and as the resident son-in-law, I end up being in charge of all this, what's the polite way to say this, silliness that I have to undergo for taking care of the family property. When we purchased the house on the left a couple of years ago, previous owners and I mean no disrespect to farmers as a whole, it's owned by an old farmer who believed that you burn all your junk instead of using garbage pickup. And the entire bank from the back of the house down to the water line is filled with like half burnt garbage and stuff. And then they also tried to create a shoreline, is what I'm assuming. What I'm hearing from some of the old timers on the river, this used to be a fairly common thing. I think it's not a thing anymore, but they took like old city lampposts and stuff and put them down into along that bank. I guess with the idea of hoping that the sand that comes down the river would make a semi-permanent sandbar and they would have a private beach. None of that happened. Now all of a sudden we just have a lot of concrete and rebar because concrete is disintegrated. Now we have rebar and stuff like that. As part of our big cleanup, it's very hard to see, but there is a little shed right there on the edge behind the far left house. A little over to the east. I think you can, it's a little bit of that light. No, that's way down on the water line. Yes, she has it right there.
Yep.
Behind it and everything is just, the only way I can describe it is an ecological mess. We're pulling crap out of there that we should. Our goal is to put a little circular round pad that we can put a little gazebo to overlook and tear out that shed, clean up that entire line, and then move the shed, the actual storage component of it, up towards the road to the upper right of that little white A-frame, so that people on the river don't have to look at our storage. Yeah, up a little bit, up where that copse of pine trees is, in the upper right, where your picture is.
From here, there's a small black box.
Yeah.
I see a circle.
Yeah, there's a circle and then there's that little black box. And the idea is to get that up as far as we can out of the eyesight and line of sight of people who use the river. We are very, very happy with the amount of people that come and use the sandbars out in the river by us. Love the fact that people are using the river. We all see the eyesores. We don't want to be one of the eyesores. We want to be one of the good guys. So we're trying to get everything back off. And what I didn't realize is that there would be a requirement for permitting just to move back off. So the goal of this isn't to add more physical man-made structures in the lower Wisconsin Riverway. The end goal of this is to move the eyesores back, and then anything that we have that can be seen, like our homes, stuff, looks like it should be. And I don't mean that in an exclusion way, like some things should, some things do, but we want it to. Too many members of my family are fans of Frank Lloyd Wrong, and they think that, you know, everything should kind of fit into the thing, and I'm with them on that. It should sort of look like it belongs on the river. That's kind of what predicated all of this today. So my apologies for how much time this has taken, and my gratitude to the staff of the county who have walked me through this process. While they walked me, I stumbled. Is there anything that I can answer for anyone in regards to this? Any concerns? Because I know that this is primarily about water runoff and impermeable soil use and that kind of good stuff. What we're taking out is greater than what we're putting in. So, if there's any questions
for this gentleman? Thank you for coming and explaining your situation. We certainly appreciate it.
Like I said, if I missed anything, please let me know. We're trying to do this as beneficial as possible.
I have a question for staff though.
Okay.
Which part of this needs the CUP? I didn't, what,
2 accessory structures in residential zoning.
just because there's a shed and a, okay,
So you can have your primary house and then 1 accessory. They're asking to do to replace the shed and put a gazebo, so it'd be 2 accessory structures.
Any other questions? If not, I'll call for a vote on petition 7C. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The petition is passed. Going on to, item number 8, reports. And the first one up is the zoning administrator.
I'll let Jen start. I'll add on, go on.
So I have, some stats again for you guys. We're up to 45 septics. I think we've only had like 5 new permits in the last month. It has slowed down a little bit on that side, just as there've been some rainy days that haven't allowed for installs. And just as we get later in the season, it kind of slows down until the rush at the end to get them in before it gets cold. Of those 45 permits, 21 new septic systems were permitted. And then we're up to 100 land use permits for the year. And I counted this morning 18 new houses so far this year in the county. Otherwise, I'm working on getting the next year's septic list ready. Those won't go out until April for 2027, but the goal is to get that list ready and over the winter start getting that next set of permits moved over into Catalyst, into our new permitting system. So kind of taking them chunk by chunk as they come up, due for maintenance.
Yeah, the maintenance forms are due the 15th of this month. After that, they're considered late. Noelle's been doing a great job of collecting the funds and documenting that they're in and scanning them. We are working with ENR to work on updating, they're helping us update our floodplain ordinance. Been some changes by Viola as far as where the floodplain is, and we're trying to clarify language. At some point, we'll be bringing it back to the committee and deciding what we need to do. There's things we have to think about.
I believe we have to have the updates approved and in place in our floodplain ordinance by January. Date, I don't remember if it's the last date or sometime in January of 27. So we're working with getting everything in place. We're reviewing, hopefully having it ready before we come to you guys for review.
And I think that's about it.
So going on to violations report.
So we've been working on the past due septic systems as well, anything that was due 26 or 25 or prior, and we have not received maintenance. There were about 280 initially. I think there's still about 200 on that list. So I'm gonna be taking that to the next steps and basically figuring out how to issue citations because they are out of compliance. We don't know if those systems are functioning properly or, you know, and they should be pumped out, that kind of thing. So we have been making progress on the one main violation. We now have a septic permit issued, so that should be cleaned up. I think the last piece of that one is that we need to get the attorney fees, find out how much we need to collect for attorney fees. But we did get all of our permit fees for that, so good there. We have a new city zoning administrator, Aaron Unbound, and he's been working with us a lot, trying to understand how the ETZ, the extraterritorial for the city, works with the county, who has what responsibilities in those areas. And he's been finding violations in the county to bring to me as he's understanding his ordinance and some different things. So he's had some questions on vision corners. That's been kind of a hot topic lately. There's some areas that there's a lot of corn that's planted right up to the road and eliminates vision at intersections. That is in our ordinance, crops are exempt. Unless I think the township authority decides that they want to do something, so I sent that one to the township level. But it's been a lot of, he'll bring something to my attention and then figuring out who's responsible for it. So I'm kind of learning a little bit in that process too, as some of those little things like vision corners that we haven't dealt with a lot kind of come up.
And it's been really nice working, having open communication, because that's, we've kind of, he's easy to work with as far as, and so we know what's going on and he knows what's going on in ours, so we can.
Yeah, prior to him being there, we didn't really hear much of what was happening in the city, so.
Right, Carol?
These guys on the radio this morning.
I have no idea, I didn't heard the radio.
Anyway, after you get on the same page and feel like you have common understandings, come back and train us a little bit.
Sure.
Because the ETZ is something most of us don't really even think about, and it's something we need to be aware of.
Is that it for the
Yep.
report? Going on to the county conservationist.
So, Derek and Corey finished up that survey the DNR asked. We had like 11, 12 sites to look at, 3 livestock, rest were cropland. So they turned their report in. We haven't seen the final numbers. And it's just, basically it was just to give to the DNR saying, okay, now they can look at the state level. What kind of money really needs to be set aside to help get people in compliance with the state performance standards. Corey is working on fauna preservation monitoring. Derek is working on his cost share projects, including the project up by Boaz Sanitary District. Natalie Straight from Southwest Regional sent us a copy of the draft plan, and we are looking it over right now, sending information back to her. We have to have a tour by the 10th. She's hoping to send like a draft plan to the state and then bringing a copy. Once the state makes their comments, bring it back to this committee and then taking it to county board eventually. But bring it back to you probably October, November to look at. Saturday is what's called Snapshot Day, and we're looking for anybody who wants to participate. You can go online on our Facebook page. There's a link you can volunteer to do this. Basically, we're meeting at the shelter along Seminary here, the park shelter at 8:30, talking about what we're going to be doing, what we're going to be looking for. Basically, Snapshot Day is a day to go out to a site or two and look for aquatic invasive species. From there, we will go to the DNR property on Langston Creek, which is on the northern part of the county. Usually we're out there like 2 hours, and we split up and try to go in pairs. Look at a couple people go look in the stream itself. Others will look in the wetlands land next to it. So you can register that day at the community center or the old community center used to be, or to sign up online. So we're looking for volunteers. We have nobody but my staff right now, so we can put the word out. So if anybody's interested.
When is that again?
Saturday morning. We're meeting at 8:30 at the park shelter, and then we'll go from there.
Where the park, oh, okay, where the park shelter, I know where you're.
Yeah, along the Seminary Street,
Where the old community center is.
where the old community center used to be. So, and the last thing is we got a report on the Mill Creek number 22 dam, which is the dam behind the Sylvan Town Hall. And there's some things we found out. There was a cabin placed on the spillway. We can't have. Landowner is from, first of all, it's in Sylvan Township, so they don't need permits. But I sent a person lives in Louisiana, I sent a certified letter saying we need to move the cabin needs to be moved. And he also, if there's gonna be staying there at all, he needs to have a sanitary permit, which he does not have. And the other part of it is, we've had a property, it's at the junction of Grim Road and County G, that there's been like a shed there. And one time they did have a camper there, but it was removed. Well, now they've moved a camper back. And there's a possibility there was things done to the shed that makes it more livable, not livable. They have a privy there. DNRs, we don't get them to remove the stuff. It's in the breach route, so if the dam would break, it would flood out. And if we can't, then we were gonna have to hire an engineer to redesign the dam and go from a 30-foot auxiliary spillway to a 70-foot auxiliary spillway, which would cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. So I'm gonna be working with the landowner and see if we can do something to get that, so it's fine to have a shed there, but they can't, something that somebody's gonna be living in or staying any period of time. So that is a big concern, so I'll be working on that.
Kind of a violation report item.
It is, but according to town rules, they're not violating, because they don't have, it's unzoned. So the cabin is though a little bit because I know there's gotta be staying there and there's no sanitary, so.
Going on to 8D, UW extension.
Good morning, everyone. So I didn't bring an educator this morning and saw the agenda is gonna be basically a conversation beyond our reports, so I'll try to keep this brief for you guys. Just some things that are kind of interesting of note in the last month. Anastasia, who's the crops and soils educator, she was asked to be on the Midwest Farm Report, so she was one of the people that she got to go on the Midwest Farm Report and represent Wisconsin and extension on, I believe she talked about weather updates and crop scouting forages. So that was kind of neat that falls with the new thing. So we're getting a statewide resource there. As you guys know, Beth had resigned. She still had a few programs that the rest of the statewide meeting team came in and completed. So there was a beef day in Brooklyn, and then she's also had planned for an AI, the original AI, artificial insemination and livestock course with Schmidt Dairy in August, and that's completely full. We've got educators coming down to cover her responsibility there, so we can continue to have that for the community, which I think is great. I think they had like 15 spots and it filled up in 3 days, so it's kind of pretty amazing. Sarah Kubiak, our human development and relationships educator. In addition to some of our other programs, one of the things that she does is individual coaching. And so she's now doing coaching 3 individuals right now within Richland County. And it's a bigger group, and then also working with 4 residents at Richmond Commons and Lone Rock. So kind of doing some individual programming and coaching with them. The other thing too with Sarah is she's also part of our statewide Red Smart team. So Red Smart is a statewide program that we run 6-week session on what it means to be a good renter, how to understand contracts, so that you're in this whole renting space and understanding that. She's actually on the team right now revamping that for the statewide programming there. And finally, to finish up with 4-H, it's been a pretty busy month for 4-H, as you can imagine, a lot of things coming in on the animal side, but Friday, the kids just got back from 4-H camp at Upham Woods. So they were Wednesday through Friday, 4-H camp at Upham Woods. They camped with 5 other counties, or 5 counties total. There was roughly 90 some campers, and Richland County was heavily represented with, I believe, 53 campers out of that 90. So we had a lot of activity going on for them. So just a real quick update there. As far as we look at Beth's the regional livestock educator position. While we're sitting here, I just got the approval from the dean's office to move forward with submitting the applications to HR for refilling the position. So a couple weeks, we'll get that paperwork done and hopefully I'll have it posted by the next time we meet to let you know that. So it's all the other counties were in favor. Everything's moving forward like we're moving forward. So that is a quick update from Extension.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Greg, see.
I was just curious if you have any numbers on the Rent Smart, how much participation they're able to bring in?
I don't have the numbers right offhand. I could get those to you. A lot of times when they do the Rent Smart program, they do it as a statewide virtual offering so they can, because it's a 6-week session, so one educator doesn't have to do all 6 weeks, but then they can get more interaction by having the class bigger too. But I can get those numbers for you if you want.
Wondered, hopefully that there's people taking advantage of it.
Oh, so I think typically they're somewhere between the 20 and 30 people per session. But again, it's more on a statewide or regional, where it's a lot of times if they do a regional one, it'll be Grant, Iowa, Richland, because those 3 educators kind of program in the same vein. So then those classes are typically smaller, but generally around the 10, 15-ish number states.
Any other questions? Moving on to the AE real property lister.
Julie is gone today, but I will mention part of the thing is the land information. And Mr. Nolan was there at our last meeting. It was a long one. We had a lot to discuss. We're trying to go through and make things a little more transparent because there were some things that were done in the past that we're trying to sort out. One of the things we're looking at doing is updating. We're gonna amend the grant from 2026 to change it, because we've got a couple of projects done in 25 grants, so we're gonna move those to the out of like one of the things was the dam shadows, and we're on the line, and they were actually done in 25 and paid out of 25. So we're gonna move those to the contract work with MSA to do the planning. We also placed baseline what we want to leave in the accounts, the two funds, so that if something comes up that needs to be done, we've got the money there and not, a classic would be replacing the server, GIS server. So at some point we'll be amending the plan because there's a couple things that we talked about maybe doing, but they're not in the 27 land information plan. So if we make those changes, those will be coming back to this committee and then taken to county board for approval. I think that was, and our next meeting is like the 23rd of September. I think is what I decided. And I don't know if you have anything to add to that, Mr. Nolan. Okay.
Questions, comments? Moving on to item number 9, discussion and possible action of short-term rental dates.
An attorney, I'll say his last name, Jutterand, is online too if we have any clarifications or questions. We had sent, wrote some changes and sent both the changes and what was sent to us from one of the short-term rental owners. And we asked for comments, make sure we're doing things legally. So, and the one I put in the packet was the one that Attorney Jutterand has on the side. So the first page, I don't remember what the changes proposed, but he said what we had in there was no legal significance to change it. So we get down to the second page, under short-term rental definition, what was down there was not, it said something about 30 days
Between 6 and 30.
6 and 30 days. It's actually anything less than 29 consecutive days. So said it means a residential dwelling that is offered for rent for a fee in fewer than 29 consecutive days. Or 30 days, I should say. So that was a suggestion to change it to what we've got there. There was some, I looked on in ATCP 72, and we found the correct definitions for hotels and motels that they're now defined as. And he made sure that there were what's written there is the correct definition. One thing on the third page, which it says it was under number 2, it had in there, they wanted it back, it had said in there that there was something about the septics. They could have tents and campers there, putting them over the number of bedrooms that are that their septic is approved for. And our concern is, okay, yeah, they'll be staying in those, but they're gonna be using the house, and now we're overloading the system. And so we said that's not the way it should be. It should be just not allowing the tents and campers to be on the property.
Where is that word again?
It's we took it out of it. It was under number 2.
Oh, okay.
We felt as keepers of our sanitary systems, we felt that was not appropriate. That, you know, one of the purposes of doing this was making sure that our septic systems that are out there are adequate to handle the number of people that are going to be staying over. And we've asked a couple of places that, well, the big one there in used to be Canaway Place. We've asked them to add to their sanitary systems these cabins they're renting out, because they're advertising for more than what this say. They're advertising for 2 bedrooms, 4 people, and now the septic system was for 2 people. So we're asking them to make changes. It's only fair that we don't allow this. You understand what I'm trying to say? Any questions on that part?
I just have a clarification. I have my dad's brother and his wife travel around the United States, stay in Airbnbs. They have one of those conversion vans. And they can't drive into an Airbnb without another vehicle. I mean, with the vehicle that they currently have, I mean, is there an exception?
Well, what we're saying is they can't.
You just don't want them to sleep overnight in it.
Correct.
So then that's kind of pretty much what you say, you need to be occupying the beds and not the camper.
Correct.
Yeah, yep. That's what I'm just asking, because I know a lot of people utilize Airbnbs. They don't want to stay in their camper those days because they only take a shower.
Yep.
That's the whole idea of staying in an Airbnb versus a camper.
But it's basically adding extra bedroom space.
Right. And a lot of people, you know, I mean, you have to clarify that if you're gonna stay in the house, you stay in the house, you're not.
Right.
Yep. Makes sense.
And there's 2 spots, and Mr. Jadron can maybe explain, attorney. There's no legal significance to change.
I believe that one of the owners had put in there answering within a reasonable time. That was in this one.
Yep.
And we're concerned that who's defining what a reasonable time is? How do you keep tabs on that? So we would prefer, I think it says that information is provided in here, and then later on, I don't remember if we still have the time frames of when they would be available.
I think it's my copy. Oh, it's still under there, yeah. Okay.
Again, usually the platform that you advertise on has certain guarantees sometimes and certain time
Right.
frames, things like that. The county should, maybe putting that the county shouldn't get involved. Maybe that's how the policy is, how you get that out. And that absolves us.
So basically, we're saying is that they provide the information to the guests and let us know if there's been changes in who's the contact person, in case we get queries on it. I think that was numbers 3 and 4 was just making sure that information is provided to the guests. And I think that was it. And provided just the basic information, who's going to be the managing the property when the owner cannot. So we have that information in the license. That's 3 and 4. This is the one on the next page. Respond to inquiries within a reasonable time. That was in ours, and there's no, it's legally ambiguous. So that's the one that we don't know what should be there.
So I believe the version that we had proposed had like 8 AM to 10 PM or.
We had times in there, so I don't know if we need to or not.
I know if you go to any college town, a lot of times they'll actually physically on the house plate, put a placard stating who is in charge, where you call and what. Then that belongs to the property manager then. And that phone number, they need to update it themselves. They change their own placard, otherwise it's been a legal precedence. For college town. Maybe that's
Is the
what we
state
need to do with
silent
our
on that?
Airbnbs.
I don't know. I don't know if Attorney Jotter knows. It's online.
Counselor, are you online?
I am online. Yes. Could you clarify the question?
It's we've got in here, it's listed, it had a time, what page it's on. It's under 330-4 short-term rental license, A2, and what was written in there was at the end of it, respond to inquiries within a reasonable time. I think at one point we had a time set.
So my
Yes, and
question
then
was, is the state silent on that?
I believe so. I think this would be a discretionary policy decision as far as what you want. I mean, the benefit of reasonable time is you could allow the property managers, depending on what type of property it is, kind of have that discretion. But if you want to go back to the specific time, shall respond between X and X, that would also work. This would be one of those decisions that it's more of a policy rather than a legal question as far as how you want. But reasonable time is somewhat undefined and could cause people some trouble. Well, is 8 p.m. a reasonable time, or 8 a.m. a reasonable time?
Or should it just stop at telephone number at which the property manager shall respond to inquiries? And then just leave it there.
This kind of leads to the question I have. Okay, we've been working on this a long time. It sounds like we're getting close, but do we need to have like an official public
We will.
input event?
We will have a public comment.
Okay, so maybe one more round of asking Airbnb owners their input. I'm not saying we would go with what they say, but at least we'd be able to hear more people say what's reasonable.
I think we have to have an official public hearing, and we'll work with the attorney on setting that up.
Yeah.
How we set that up.
I don't have a feel for which way to go, but it'd be good to hear from people's.
Yeah, and like I said, I think the reasonable time, yeah, I agree. But just if we stopped at respond to inquiries, that explains that they're gonna have to. It's not setting a time, but it's something to think about. Again, under 1, it's the same thing. we just don't know what a reasonable time is.
I guess what I'm saying is if we do pick a time, if we've had owners a chance for input, then, they've had their chance.
And I can send it out to a couple and ask them to respond what they consider a reasonable time. Because we can't, reasonable time is it midnight? Is it?
It's subjective because if you're a shift worker at Schreiber Foods, reasonable time is very different than it's.
Yep.
There's an argument you could leave it reasonable and leave it to their judgment, but I
Do
want to
we,
hear what they have to say.
do we have Airbnb registered? Do you have a list?
She's got a list that are registered with this, well, it's from this.
Just send questionnaires out to them.
I don't know if I have, yeah, I could.
I assume it would do an invite to them for this public input.
Then under 4 and 5, we had a policy, it was gonna be 30 days. And it was sent to some of the short-term rental, said they wanted to 90 days. And so, basically it's, both of that paragraph, it talks about a copy of the state Wisconsin tourist rooming house license issued under the state statute, or proof that such a license has been applied for, in which event a provisional short-term rental license may be issued under this chapter for a period of 90 days, but shall be conditional upon the zoning administrator's receipt a copy of such state license within the 90-day period. It talks more about 90 days. Maybe 30 is too short, but I think 90 is too long. But that's a policy decision that I think this committee needs to give us direction on.
But if they apply to the state, are they allowed to go ahead and rent before they get the extra?
If they get, it looks like they get a provisional short-term rental license, they can. The short-term rental people were saying 90 days. So they can rent out for 90 days after getting this provisional permit license.
Basically, we would be the only ones overseeing until, during that interim, until that state license would be issued.
But you're saying the state gives a provisional and then doesn't oversee?
No, this would be, we would give a provisional
on top of the state one
while they're waiting for the state. So we would need proof that they have at least already applied with the state. But we would give them whatever time window to get us the state approved permit. And in that interim, we would be the only ones overseeing.
Even how long it typically takes?
If we don't know what the state time frame is, but if they have to check in every 10 days or something after 45 days. And then that solves your issue with, knowing what's going on. And then there's like a week's almost too short. But
Right.
10 days will give at least two working weeks worth of information at a time.
Do you want to ask? Turn.
Yeah, that might.
Counselor?
Yes, I'm here.
Want to ask the question?
Well, if 30 days is too short and 90 days is too long, is there a way that legally somebody, from the county could say 45 days and then check in every 2 weeks or every 10 business days or something like that until the permit is officially.
You could, yeah,
Carol?
you could definitely draft the provision in that capacity. I do not know off the top of my head how long the state takes to respond to applications. So I have seen in other cases in which there is that provisional period, but it's up to obviously the county or the committee here to decide if it's 45 days, and you could definitely have that where you check in every 10 business days. That it could be amended to say that if that's the decision the committee would like.
That solves your problem, like a day or not, no way.
We could find out from the state. Email the person in the state too and see how long it usually takes. So that we have a good, then we could work with the attorney about drafting that language. Does that sound?
Just gives you an idea, that gives you more flexibility. So breathing down space.
Okay, we'll check, I'll check, find out who to email the state, talk to them, and then we'll kind of work with the attorney to draft the right language.
There's a normal and usual that anything government, and there's abnormal with circumstances.
And again, the next one is still that reasonable time, and I think, I don't know if we can really determine what a reasonable time is. Just, like I said, we'll talk with, get clearer language, and we'll talk with some of the short-term rental. I think the next one is lower on, and that's what we're not sure. It was about zoning administrator may refuse to issue a short-term renew a short-term rental license for any property owner or applicant that has violated this chapter within a period of 12 months prior to the date of the license application, or if the property has 3 or more calls for law enforcement services. The proceeding, and we had just without and it was written to us that it should be leading to formal written violation or arrest the preceding 12 months. Law enforcement calls for potentially unreasonable neighbors which do not lead to formal or written arrest cannot and will not be used to deny renewal applications. I think maybe the first part, leading to formal written violation or arrest, I think that's good. I think we just leave it at that. I don't think the last part, if it leads to formal written violation or arrest, that should be it. I mean, we don't, it's the law enforcement to determine if it's unreasonable by the neighbors. I don't know what you guys feel. But if the sheriff's department issues something, then okay, that is they, you know, if the neighbors being unreasonable, they're not probably going to be issuing a formal written violation. Does that sound reasonable to you? We just take out that last sentence, but leave that leading to formal. We don't want people just making complaints because we get them at our job all the time, but if it's law enforcement writes something, then I think, or arrest somebody, I think that's when we decide not to renew their license or issue a license.
Sure. I'd say take out the last sentence myself.
Because that's more subjective than they issue something, then that's got.
Yeah.
Is that it? Jen? That's all I got in mind. So we'll take out that one sentence. We'll talk about the issue about the reasonable. We'll look at state about the 45 days, what the state usually goes with. We'll work with the attorney to change that. And what was that reasonable thing?
Simple time period.
Yeah. And the other parts about and it just yeah, I think those two things could stay in there. About the further up, it talks about ensure their contact information is provided to the guests and updated with the zoning administrator. And to provide the guests with the emergency contact information. And then the same thing for the property manager. If the person does not live within 60 miles, they have a property manager, the same information is provided to us. And then they provide that information to the guests. I think those were the definitions. I think they should be changed according. Yeah. So any other things you saw in there?
So with the changes made or proposed to be made, should we hold this over till the changes are made before we vote on it?
I think, yeah, I think we. So great.
I think that would be.
Public review should happen, especially with those that are utilizing rules. I should look at it.
And we have to have a public hearing anyway, so that would be where those comments would be made too, but. Meanwhile, we can provide those that have commented already, we can provide them what we make the changes.
Need a vote, or is this just something you guys are still reporting to us?
I think it's kind of, we're still reporting, it's okay to make those changes and get your consensus.
Be an act.
No, need it then.
No, I don't think so.
That it for that point? Okay. Going forth on the highlights of my meeting, discussion and possible action on revisions to zoning regarding chickens and junk. Why?
It's not about me though, right?
Why?
The chicken part comes in because we've had over the year. Poultry and livestock are not allowed in residential districts. We've had some people that want to have a few chickens. So, that's where worked with Adam a little bit with, first of all, his knowledge of chickens personally, but, to make those, to allow them, but they have to fall within certain criteria. You know, maximum of 8 chickens per acre, no roosters. Now, not allowed out of the coop or run pen, fully enclosed chicken poop, goodness gracious, chicken coop to house chickens, at least 2 feet per chicken in the coop. And that came from, and then meet residential building setbacks. Require enclosed outdoor chicken run attached to the coop. Closed by fencing or structure, at least 8 feet per chicken in the run. This is the run part of it, and setbacks 25 feet from the center line of the road. Coop cannot be closer than 75 feet to the ordinary high water mark of any navigable water, and it cannot be located in any floodplain.
Does the coop count as a structure?
So they'd have to meet the structure requirements then too. It may require a CUP if they're building an additional structure.
Anything about the junk?
That. Go ahead.
Need to get this on the table for discussion.
Yep.
Is there a motion for discussion? Supervisor Smith and Supervisor Carroll.
So the first part of it is the chickens. We've been working on that. We haven't made any changes in the last while. But if we want to make those changes, these two are the simple ones to do. I did pass both of them on to community approval from DACAP, Department of Ag. And I've talked to Mr. Jackson. He said these would not affect the ordinance. You know, they would be okay. The other part of it would be the junk part of it.
These are 2 separate ordinances, right?
No, they're just 2 amendments to the same ordinance.
Sorry, right?
And that language is, I have what the storage restrictions. And the old one. It's what the current one says, which is some but not enough to work with the attorney about language on it. Proposed is, and I was wondering if it should say, instead of storage restrictions, should it say storage of the following is prohibited? Instead of storage restrictions. That's some language.
So can you give an example? I guess, someone who has, where I work in places where people do have extraneous vehicles and extraneous things hanging around the yard. Some people have are hobbyists and they repair, they repair and work on cars, and they work on vehicles, and they restore antique things, and or parts are harder to find and things like that. Is this gonna leave that less flexible for those people who?
Possibly. We've been getting a lot of complaints over the past, since we've been doing it. And nothing we could do about it because there's like garbage and there's junk car, there's unlicensed vehicles like sitting around, and there's old lawnmowers, and there's old metal, and there's all this sort of stuff stored outside. And we get we probably get one a month or more, and there's nothing we could do about it. But we've got some really big ones too. Like there's one up on Highway 80.
That's a different situation than somebody who's got. Well, in the city of Richland Center, I think you can have up to 3 unlicensed vehicles in your yard. And I think it's 3, isn't it? Where you have to have a license. They have to be able to be run, but you can have, let's say, one that's broken down in your yard. But I can see out in the country, if there's somebody who's got an acre's worth of their loved and cherished items sitting in their yard, that can be an eyesore. But it also can be a health issue. That there's a difference between an eyesore and a health issue and somebody who's running an inefficient junkyard out of their property, which is then, a business. That's a whole different thing.
Well, we've been asked to do something about it.
Yes.
By a committee member?
By me.
Yes, I understand.
And
It's not a real problem in my.
I understand. I think it might know.
It's to the point where I'm sure property owners
needs to be-
around there, their property value. Because,
Yes.
and there's many unused vehicles and gas operated machinery
Correct.
that are sitting in the floodplain
Correct. And
with
that's actually.
oil, antifreeze, batteries.
That sounds like somebody who's operating a junkyard.
Well, it's just a collection for him. I mean, he's not buying or selling any used parts off these things. They're just sitting there.
And like I said, we've had some residential ones that have had junk, and it's like junk. It's broken down things that are laying around. They just haven't gotten rid of them. And I know it becomes an issue in all zoning districts.
It does.
And
the biggest problem is land owner has a right to do what he wants on his property. But he's still part of a community.
Correct.
That's where we have to step in and do something.
I like the way it's written, gives the townships a little bit of fight for these people that have junk all over their place, so we can visit with them and try to get them to.
Well, the thing is right now with my situation, our township, they They don't want to be the bad guy, they want the county to handle
I don't mind being a bad guy.
it. Yeah,
Is it
that's fine.
between wording of shall and will? Is that what we need to do?
Yeah.
Okay.
Fair.
Maybe it's somewhere else, but it doesn't say anything about enforcement or consequences.
Well, there'd be a violation of the zoning ordinance.
And then,
We would work with sending certified letter, working, if it doesn't get taken care of, then we'd be working with the attorneys to take the next step, like any other zoning violation.
Yeah.
But like I said, the biggest comment from our DAC cap is maybe it should say, instead of storage restrictions, storage of the following is prohibited. And that makes it a little more,
Right. No, I've been working with these cities here.
Yep.
We sent a registered letter to this individual. But in the meantime, with our new council that we hired, said that the language that was on the books in the past would not stand up in court. That's why we're redoing this stuff now.
Some of it is, sometimes removal is the better choice, but some people don't have either the means of removal or they don't have the money. What I'm talking about, money of removal. Or the access, or the desire. We're talking about, you know, some, as I was saying, health and mental health issues.
Very.
We had one case in the city here recently where there seemed to be one vehicle was full of bags of garbage. Then there would be another vehicle, it would fill up, and there were way too many vehicles full of plastic bags of waste and garbage.
Well, sooner or later, it used to be a health risk.
Well, yeah.
and I grew up next to your place though. And when the son-in-law finally took over, actually grandson-in-law, the original owner, it took them a while, but they got a company to come in and actually they got money from, it was old machinery and stuff, and they got actually, when somebody came in, they actually got money for it.
I'm interested because that's what I do partially here. To help people like that. I know. Certain situation.
And yeah, so I guess my thing is, do we wanna finalize what the language will be and then have the attorney look at it and bring it back for the,
I would.
in the proposed 3 bullets, A, B, and C. A and B specifically mention visibility from the road. C doesn't address that. And I don't know if that's just because we assume it's gonna be some big sprawling thing you can see, or what if someone's got all this crap behind their barn where you can't see it from the road? So that's my question.
I don't know. I did want to make sure that, it did not, that it didn't, like, some farmers have machinery that they're using that they don't have a building for. That's different than,
No, and I think your wording is clear, make that distinction, but we all know there's some farms where there's just a sprawling of stuff that is junk, and it may or not be visible.
I think in our original language, that's where that first part was taking what was in the original language, which said view from the street or joining properties. So
Maybe put that in C.
Anything else? So this is another one we'll just hold over until you get to corrections made.
make sure we get the language correct and then
Bring it
try
back.
to bring it back next month.
Now we're going to the items that I want switched. I want to talk about the data centers before the transmission lines. And I have some things to say. Supervisor Carroll has taken it upon himself to be the point man for the transmission.
What was that sign?
Volunteered. Anyway, signed it. And I am not the point person for the data centers, but I have researched it online. And first, I want to make perfectly clear, I do not have an opinion yet on data centers. I understand the public comments and the information that I have found online. We have to remember, in today's society with social media, you don't know who to believe. But this is what I have found on researching the data centers. There is over 4,000 data centers right now. And the experts say we need at least 3,000 more. On every project like this, there are pros and cons. And I'm just going to list a few. I do not have an opinion on them. I am starting to form one, but it's going to take a while for me to decide which way I want to be. As far as I know, myself, chairman of the county board, and the administrator, none of us have heard anything about any interest in a data center coming to Richland County. What I have found about the information that I've looked up, well, I'll talk about the pros first. A data center provides huge tax revenue for the community. That's something that Richland County needs desperately. They're always saying, you know, do more with less. Well, I think we're beyond that point now. We're trying to maintain with less. And it's just going to get worse as our elderly age group grows more. And that age group depends on social programs and whatnot. And we got to find funding. It brings jobs to the community, mainly in constructing buildings. Your average data center, these can be as big as a football field or larger. Would employ between 30 and 100 people. Okay, you're thinking, okay, well, that's a good high-paying job. Not necessarily, because the majority of those people are going to be security. They also build the building after space where they can rent it out to other companies to put their computers in there, which would increase our tax revenue some more. On the con side, there is noise. These backup diesel generators that we've talked about run on an average about an hour a month. Unless, of course, they lose electricity, then they automatically fine. Because of the heat that these okay, first of all, the pictures that I see online, you know, your computer at home is about the size of a suitcase, maybe a briefcase, a little tower. These computers, I would say, are about the size of a pool table standing on end. They're huge. And if you had a building the size of a football field, These things are in there like 6 inches apart. There could be hundreds of them. They generate a lot of heat. And when I worked at Lands End, in the monogram department, we had 60 sewing machines that ran by a computer. And we upgraded them right after peak season, so that had been mid-January into February. Everything worked fine when we first got them in there. As it started warming up, computers do not like humidity, do not like heat. They started having problems with them, so they had to make department air conditioning just to keep running. And imagine hundreds of computers in there, how much heat they're gonna take and gauge. And imagine the problem with the air conditioning. The studies that I see, they said there was not any toxic or nuclear pollution at any time. They do say though, the average data center uses millions of gallons of water to help cool the building. Now, when they first built, this water was used and it went up in the atmosphere as steam. That is considered air pollution. But now the latest ones that I've seen, they are starting to recall that steam and use it back in the system again. So the water usage has dropped. How much? There are or were some areas where my electricity bill would go up because of the amount of usage that the data center uses. Currently, the government is putting forth legislation to stop that. It didn't happen with every data center, but the ones that it did, they would either not allow that to happen or they would rebate the taxpayer back after at the end of the year of the increase of his or her electric bill. So what else? There was no reports of any water level being damaged because of this. That doesn't mean it isn't. It just wasn't any reports there. Just before I came to this meeting, I was reading on Newsbreak that there was a article from the Wisconsin Public Radio about American Transmission and the We Energy companies, and they are putting in data centers in Port Washington and Beaver Dam. I encourage you to look that up and read that little bit of an article. It's not much, but it's a little bit. I did go on, I even went on YouTube, and I've got it here. If you ever want to go on YouTube and look for the truth about massive data centers, the truth about AI's massive data centers. And it's just a little, it's like 5-minute video. There's plenty of videos out there, but this one in particular, the man, there's a man who is a billionaire and he's on this it's on a TV program, the Shark Tank. He's proposing to build a massive data center in Utah. He wants to buy 50,000 acres. And he wants to have this data center dedicated to 10,000 acres. He was going to use, there is a natural gas instead of electricity to data center. The unique thing about it was the county in Utah was Richland County. How often do you see, that? Um, Again, I don't have any opinion on this yet. I have talked to not only the chairman of the county board, but the administrator, and I've asked her, and she is going to start contacting these other communities that, one, already have data centers, and two, the ones that the data centers are being built. And get their opinions, especially the places where the data centers are already built. Is it good? Is it bad? I went on here and I got kind of into a chat room and they started talking about data centers. And I don't know, I think it was in Ford somewheres. There was a high residential brand new district on one side of the road. On the other side of the road, there was a data center there, and some of the residents in the homes didn't even know that the data center existed there. They do make noise, but it's no more from what I have seen now. But again, the facts that I'm seeing here, I don't know if they are 100% true facts either. They say they're about the same noise level as an interstate that will be going by. They do have at night, because of the amount of energy that they're using, a halo effect where it kind of brightens the air around. And until we get more knowledge back from our administrator, I do not have an opinion on this. But Mr. Perry.
I think we need to consider the paradox that our county, city, village, and township government experiencing over the city. We have, especially here in Richland, we have negative population growth, an aging population, and diminishing tax base. And anything that will alleviate those issues has to be considered. Problems residents of all ages, persuasions are asking for more resources, more electricity, more water, more internet access, and more convenient devices to use like this. And I just can't come out and say I'm against it. Kind of like you, but gotta have my opinion has to be solidified. Gotta hear more facts. So like.
Supervisor, sure.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm not part of the Natural Resources Committee, but I attended the meeting today because in my career that I retired from, I worked in the utility industry, both electric and natural gas. And I have personal experience with Microsoft building the very first data center that they constructed in Cheyenne, Wyoming. I've been in the data center. I worked with them when it was placed there, and a personal experience about what kind of infrastructure it takes to bring a data center. If you look up Cheyenne, Wyoming now, it is a huge hub for data centers because of some of the tariffs that the Wyoming Public Service Commission passed to isolate the costs just to the data center providers and not have that halo effect on the other ratepayers. So that is a real issue that has to be managed very closely. But I would say that the biggest impact to the community above the land use was the electric infrastructure and electric generation requirements to serve a data center. It's it isn't done in isolation. It does have an impact. The electric grid has an impact to the generation that provides the electricity to power those data centers. And so to be opposed to transmission lines and not consider the impact it would have on a data center in this area is a little bit naive. They do go hand in hand, and it's important to consider that. There's also been there's a lawsuit right now in Cheyenne, Wyoming, between Meta and the water sanitation district in Cheyenne, because Meta is accused of contaminating the water supply that went into the sewer plant. They had to shut the sewer plant down because it had such a prolific impact there on the outflow from the water treatment facility. It could have a massive impact. Yes, it would bring greatly needed tax revenue here, but it would also impact our quality of life in other ways too. So consider both sides of it. And while you want to be open-minded to the opportunities, you also need to consider the options.
And that's why I really prefer to have the administrator investigate. Contact these places where there is a operating data center and has been operating for a number of even years. See how it's implied on their community, both good and bad. We need to know before we I think before we put up a referendum and say, no, we're absolutely not going to have a data center.
Moratoriums, I understand though, are just that take a period of time to do these investigations on. Moratorium doesn't mean you don't want one. It just means within this period of time, we are investigating. I just want to point that out. You know, putting a moratorium on doesn't mean that it's forever. It means that at this point in time, we're doing the investigation. I just want to point out that a moratorium doesn't, that word is meant to be a placeholder. It's not only is a placeholder, it's meant to be one. Like all these investigations are happening until you know what the impacts are. So just want to put that out there that consider a moratorium doesn't consider it being something that is forever.
And currently it's not an approved use in any of our zoning districts.
Yep.
So the zoning ordinance, I know it would have to be amended. I know Grant County did a moratorium. You know, it's a short period of time, but it gives something to think about. It gives the county time to look at it, make any changes they need to make, put any restrictions on that they may need to make if this is a use that the county decides is okay. But we would have, the zoning ordinance would have to be amended to include that as a use right now.
Right now, it's the Wild West here. But I view that that's what moratorium is for, is to be able to get a handle on this.
Sure.
Counselor, do you have an opinion on this? Are you still on?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Yes, I currently do not have an opinion on the matter.
I mean, I can go to the surrounding counties that I know have moratoriums and get copies of what they did and send them to the administrator so that she has that information too.
Yep.
Again, I'm not for or against it. I just want to get as many facts in as we can.
And we've got a Google group that for the county code people that we can send to and say, who has a moratorium? What are your language? can send them on to the administrator.
So the administrator wanted a few months to her investigation, should we?
What is it?
Yeah, should we, redo this in a few months to see how she come with it, or?
I think we should
Yeah.
give some official time on doing this. I mean, unofficially, we can do whatever we want for as long as we want. So I think we officially should make those things happen. So that we're proactive versus reactive.
And we wouldn't be able to issue a permit right now for one because it's not a approved use. There's only ordinance. And they could go to one of the unzoned or township zone, but they can't, for other zone townships. There's nothing to issue a permit for.
So it's clear, but we need to,
So that we have the time, what do you need, Kathy? So that we can take our time to think about what we want to do.
Well, I think we get the information on the moratoriums and get it to administrator, and, you know, maybe,
Put it on the agenda for the event.
or maybe not, maybe, let's say the October meeting, the end of the month, I think it's too soon. The September meeting, which is the end of the month, that's too soon. I think October would be the first Monday in October for now, and we could always say, hey, we don't have enough information and we're not ready to go.
maybe we'd have more facts by. With the administrator. Make a vote on that, or just?
Or to postpone, or however officially needs to be put in, I don't know.
That we're considering.
And bring back to the October meeting.
Don't need to vote or, you know.
No.
On to number 12, the discussion and possible action of the transmission line proposal.
I put in the packet the resolution that Mr. Carroll had sent me. Sorry. So whereas they're just background, but it looks like there now there will be it resolved are the questions. Right, Mr. Carroll?
Possible, one, a motion for possible discussion. Sure. Make a motion. Carol and Mr. Myers.
Okay, so, the documents that put in our packet, there's an example resolution that Vernon County passed in opposition. It's one they passed asking information. These are just examples where other counties have done. There's the proposed information resolution that Kathy mentioned that some local folks put together, offered to us as a recommended possible further information resolution. But then the main thing I hope you've all had a chance to read is that Grid Solutions did finally answer our first resolution asking for information. We just got it on the 29th of July. And so If you've read it, you'll see that it's a very general response. It didn't really answer the questions, mostly saying, we'll get to you when we figure it out. One way we could respond now would be to ask questions again, but also add more questions that we've better understood need to be asked and resubmit to them. And the reason I say that is part of what we're doing is we're building the case. We're getting documents in place to show that MGS has or has not been responsive, because eventually this is going to go to the Utility Public Congressman Commission, and so as part of their review of the proposed project, they're going to look at how the this company's been behaving, and if they've not been responsive to our concerns, that's going to be a problem for them. So all I'm saying is, if we continue to keep the ball in their court by saying we've asked these questions, we still haven't heard anything from you, kind of shows what's going on. It might be too early to actually say we're in opposition. The reason I say that, again, we don't have the facts yet. They haven't said where their lines are going to go. They haven't really given them the detail we've asked. So we might want to, keep our powder dry for that, and then wait till it's optimal for when we're involved with the Public Service Commission. Maybe in a couple months. I'm not sure when, but I would say right now it's quite reasonable to ask for information again. So it's dated and on record that we're still waiting.
The question I have is, how many times are you going to ask the same question?
Well, I understood. You're right. But again, I think we're building a case because they have to go to the Public Service Commission to get approval. They have to. And if we can show Public Service Commission, we've been asking questions for months, have not been responsive, that's going to be a problem for them. So you're right. At some point, you got to go to opposition or you got to do something else. But I think for right now, if we follow up with our list of questions, it helps build the case that they're not being responsive. Whether the exact wording that we have here is what we want, we can discuss. But I think that's where I'm leaning right now, just to put it back in their court.
I couldn't make the links work. They put links in their answers. But
you mean
on my home computer or my county computer, they don't respond. So that means I have to go in and cut and paste, and I'll do that when I have time. That's very disappointing that they're.
So anyway, that's where things are with me, and I just wanted to get it on the table.
Very well.
I appreciate the desire to establish a record in working with this company so that when it does come to a hearing, that we actually have facts and figures to work with in our position that would be established. My concern is that their website also is very vague and has very wide, just general timeframes of when they're going to be providing information about their route. Meanwhile, our residents and taxpayers' lives are on hold, making their plans on how they're going to live their life or what we're going to do here in Richland County. There's investments in the land that are on hold, will affect our taxes in the future as far as what we can collect based on the infrastructure that is constructed. And we have a whole county that is on hold. If I were anyone that was even considering purchasing property in Richland County, I'd say not now. That's a problem for everyone. If I was in need of selling my property right now, I'd be fearful for what it would affect the value of what I'm paying for my property. I want to invest in the building. As an owner of property that has a building permit that's been issued to us to construct a building. Fearful, I don't know if we're gonna construct anything. I think we owe it to our taxpayers to be more, and our residents to be more firm in our position. I think we should be in opposition now because they haven't provided information. Instead of saying, we're the nice guys, we're gonna continue to just ride this wave. I don't think that's fair to the people that live here.
You make a good point. That'd be a perfect other whereas bullet on why they need to respond. In other words, we're on hold. We don't know what's gonna happen, and it's gonna cause immediate cost impact to people that maybe want transactions. So I would say, yeah, that could be something we could add as another paragraph to this question, this information.
Yeah, it is impacting our county now. And to sit back and say, well, we'll be the nice guy and we'll just ride this out for a while longer to help build our record. I think our record needs to be very firm that if they haven't provided information, why should we be anything more than opposed to it? Because they don't treat people fairly.
There's one more reason why I thought we might want to wait on an actual opposition ordinance. If you look at the one that Vernon passed, there's not a lot there. It's pretty thin. It just says we're in opposition. And if we want to work on one with the details on why we're in opposition, that's great. I don't think we're ready to pass that today. Maybe we work on developing one with more detail to it and more better argument than just say we're opposed. That way it doesn't sound like knee jerk. And so, yes, maybe this committee or somebody else can start working on an opposition ordinance that maybe we pass it next month. Just don't see the wording ready for passing anything today.
I would suggest that at the next meeting of the Natural Resources Committee, which I think is scheduled for August 31st, that we're prepared to take action at that point, at this committee be, because by that time, the dates will have passed from their website that say when they'll have been in touch with all the landowners on the route or post routes. There'll be a lot more detail so that at the next meeting, I think the preparation needs to ready to take action. If you're not willing to take action today, that is planned for the next.
I oppose it. Because nobody can get any information. Transparency is brutal to the residents and their questions. And I think we need to decide this sooner rather than later. Because the longer this goes on, the more entrenched this company is going to get. And pretty soon, I prefer to be proactive rather than reactive.
I think too, we should have a specific, if you're reading it, starting to do, getting our whereas and our 4.2s ready for the August 31st date. So that, this letter, when I looked at it, and I also didn't get the links to work correctly. I thought of, when you're having a neighbor and you're having a friendly discussion and you don't have a dog, they've got a dog, their dog is sniffing around and peeing in your yard while you're talking to them about making up a mind whether or not they're gonna keep their dog on their own property. I mean, that's kind of, it's a disrespectful respectful letter. It's like divorcing a narcissist or something. I mean, that's the feeling you get. It's like you're not getting any information, but they're giving you enough to have you just start doing that crazy spin in your head. Like, what are we gonna? They're thinking that this county. I mean, we need to make it stand that we're actually, you know, we have reasonable expectations haven't materialized at this point. That's where I'm at.
I think I'm hearing from you that, yeah, we want to do an opposition resolution. So sure, let's start working on a draft.
Yep.
And hopefully in time for August 31st meeting.
That gives a couple more weeks for them, maybe if they see this and they want to give us more information so that we don't stop a resolution, to stop a resolution, they want to work with us, it's different. But right now, there's no working with. You can't work with somebody who isn't, it was you. Yeah.
In the meantime, I'd like if we go ahead and get the ball back to the report on the
Yes.
information.
I think that's a great idea.
Steve, I read Richland County when you were talking about it, very poorly put together. Very poorly.
And that's what I'm saying. I don't want us to jump the gun, do something like that.
And I'm gonna throw out a suggestion that maybe once you have it written, maybe have the attorneys look at it, just making sure that you're covering your bases. And then maybe we can put it in the next, have that in the next packet and the next agenda.
And the resolution can say, because we're not receiving any responses to our questions, we oppose this transmission.
Like a reasonable time frame too. So like from here on out, maybe us saying, we don't hear from you within 10 business days or something, because then a half a month has gone by. And they're just waiting for our timeline to tick down to where there's no time left. Then they're gonna bring something really fast and we're not gonna have the time either. So we, I mean, these are my friends and family here and my constituents, all of us are gonna be affected 10 to 45% of our values. Land values are very correct.
I think we're naive if we expect that the transfers people are following our county meetings. They're not taking the time to do that. It shows that their interest and their effort isn't really with the landowners or the residents here of Richland County. We need to take the bull by the horns and be proactive and assertive in our actions. Because that is the only way we're gonna get their attention. They don't really care. So I would encourage us to draft a strong resolution in opposition and be prepared for your next natural resources meeting. We need to take action on that. Because to get it out of natural resources, to get it to executive finance, to get it through the full county board takes time. And we're running out of time. So let's take action now.
We want to go ahead and pass this on to the board though, the information one.
I think we should wait until after May 31st before we offer.
This is not an opposition, this is the information law.
Oh. Yeah, I don't see anything. But then you might even want to add to it. A resolution is coming.
I think that information would be helpful to help the rest of the county board to understand the lack of response and the way that they're treating our requests and our interaction with our residents here too. I wouldn't hold back the information. I'd bring it along. Maybe it's for information only in their packet, but to let them know. That's my opinion.
So you're saying you don't think we should pass this on?
I think we should.
Yeah.
I think we want to share all those facts
Yeah.
and show their lack of response so that the full county board would be prepared to pass a resolution.
Yeah, that resolution would be going, if it passed the end of the month here, go to the September county board.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
If you,
The information one should go to the August.
no, I'm saying, but if you do decide at the December, goodness gracious. August 31st meeting to do a resolution in opposition, then that would go to the September first meeting in September for the executive finance and then go to county board.
Right.
Yeah, and having this background information ahead of time, I think helps lay the groundwork.
And we may even have extra voices to help us draft this resolution from the other county board members who also may have, you know, direct impact that they can put into this resolution. Not just,
Like, sure.
yes, exactly.
Okay, so I am asking for a motion to send the information packet to the executive and finance committee meets a week from member review and move on to the county board. Make that motion. Keith and Mr. Perry, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion is passed. On to item number 13, correspondence. Future agenda.
Response letter. Already passed it.
Future agenda items.
Would be the,
Things you're bringing back.
yeah, the short-term rental and then the junk, making sure we've got everything covered by that. And I'll ask about what I can ask the attorneys and about how to handle a public hearing on short-term rental.
And I guess we're on to item number 15, adjournment.
I'll make that motion.
Mr. McKee and Mr. Myers seconds. All in favor, say aye. Meeting is adjourned.
Thank you for.
Thanks, guys.